Today I'll be talking about co-cultural and the theory of co-cultural and what it is. Many of us communicate through words or maybe through our hands, and communication affects all of us. Even animals, they communicate in one way or another, even though we may not notice. For example, sometimes we may treat others. For example, we may do something good for them, and if we do that, we may receive good from them. But then, if we do something bad to them, they would we will receive something bad from them, most likely. And also, if we talk to some people in a good way, they will see us as somebody that has studied, somebody that is of high society. But if we talk in cuss words or on words that are not fully understandable, we will be seen as illiterate by others, not only by close relatives, but by strangers. So it is really important for us to communicate in the right way. There are many cultures around the world, not only in a certain place, but across the world. There are many cultures in just one city and in just one town. There are many cultures. That is why it is important for us to understand the cultures of one another and try to understand them fully, because maybe we're accustomed to different type of things, different food, different type of way to speak to one another, to our relatives. So it is very important for us to speak to one another the right way. And one theory that catched my mind through my reading of the research was the co-cultural communication theory. That theory is going to be talked about today. First of all, we're going to talk about what it is exactly. Then we're going to see how it affects each one of us. And lastly, we're going to see some examples and how it relates to us. Well, first of all, as I said, what is co-cultural communication? Orby wrote a book, Communication Theory, in 1998. And in his book, which was respected by many professors and still used today, he stated, the people who have more power within a society determine the dominant culture because they get to decide the prevailing views, values, and traditions of the society. Let's let that sink in for a little bit. He stated first, the people have power within a society. Even though everybody has power in a society, there's people on top and there's people on bottom. And the people that are on top are the ones that decide who the dominant culture is. For example, there are cultures that started here in the US when the 13 colonists came. Those were the Europeans, but we will talk about that later on. So as I said, that was what we were going to talk about in the first place, what it was. Now let's see how it affects us. Well, if there's only one dominant culture, then what about the rest of us? What is going to happen to us? Well, we're going to have to obey the dominant culture, and whatever they do is whatever we will do. So we have to see what we can do to change that. Some examples that we may see are like this one, which is the congressman. Most of them are from the European descendants. Well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, when the U.S. started, the U.S. was made by European men. And has that changed anytime soon? Well, it hasn't, because as we can see in the picture, many of the people that are in the Congress right now are from European descendants, and that is still the dominant culture in the U.S. right now. That's why we have to do something to change that. And here's another picture of an interesting picture. In the left-hand side, there's people from different cultures that are trying to escape to the other side. Well, what is it on the other side? Well, there's people with food. Well, we can see a high society. We can say that that is the main um, main culture, and then on the other side is the people that are not that important as the main culture, and are left with less food and less power. So how does it affect us? How does all this wrap up to us? Well, we can see that uh, not only does it affect us if we're not part of that culture, but we don't have a say in anything. And as we can see in the picture, we'll be like the people on the left that will be struggling and wanting to get out, but we can't because there's like a wall between us and the dominant culture. So, what can we do about it? We can speak up. And one example from the book that we have been reading in class is from the Macmillan Bible source, is that the main culture does not want a say from the people that are low in society or low in their culture. So that is why it's important for people to speak up and listen to one another so that they can keep on going. So in conclusion, we can see that cultural communication theory is a very important theory in our society because it is still ongoing today and it affects our communication. If somebody wants to speak to somebody that is in the dominant culture, they will not be able to because they think they are up there while the rest of us are down there. So, furthermore, we can see that we may be downgraded because of what we may be wearing. One example of it is in the U.S. many black African Americans can't even wear a hoodie in school or even in the streets because they are seen as dangerous people. So we can see that it does affect us. Not only even if we're not African Americans and they see us wearing hoodies, they can see us as somebody dangerous or anything in that sense. So we can continue on and make a difference and start speaking up so that the Congress can see and change. It will not be a fast change, but we can make that change quicker by continuing on and progressing by that.
Mas o teu, são de sonhos,